Coming up on the channel today, I'm going to talk about 5 records from artists that I either absolutely love now or even loved when the albums came out that I completely overlooked. Coming right up. Hey, it's Russ from the Infectious Groove podcast and YouTube channel. And we always mention this in the video, but we love the comments and the likes and everything. But also, please make sure that you look in the links below and that you're subscribed to the Infectious Groove podcast itself. That way, when there's a new episode of that show every single Monday, you can get it on whatever podcast platform that you subscribe to. Also, you can find Infectious Groove podcast on Patreon if you want to throw us a couple bucks every month to help support what we're doing here. As far as today's video goes, I thought I might want to talk about 5 albums that I completely overlooked when they came out, and they range from artists that I absolutely loved and then just didn't bother with their latest release to artists that I just didn't think were that big of a deal when the record came out, and then I went back and realized, oh no, this is an absolutely fantastic record. First one on the list is an artist that for whatever reason, I just did not buy into the hype at all when Eminem's first major label debut, the Slim Shady LP, came out. And there was a lot of buzz on it. And of course, I lived in Detroit at the time. And so him being from Detroit nationally and right within our own ecosystem in Detroit, people were going on and on and on about this record, and I just never bothered to listen to it. When the second album came out, the Marshall Mathers LP, I don't know why, but I dove headfirst into that album, and I loved it so much that I almost thought if I go back and listen to the first album, there's no way it's going to be anywhere near as good. And while I think the second record is a masterpiece, there's a ton of great stuff on the first album, the Slim Shady LP, that I didn't even bother to listen to at all. The second one is kind of understandable, and I feel like anybody who says they love this album when it came out is probably not telling the truth. But it was a major lineup change, and that was when Motley Crue switched over from Vince Neil to John Corabi for the self-titled or Motley Crue 94 or Motley Crue, whatever you want to call it. I absolutely overlooked that record, and by a long shot. I didn't even bother paying attention to that album for like 15 years after it was released. And I think I heard Hooligan's Holiday on like a syndicated guitar show or something on the radio, and I thought I should listen to that record again. It gets so much praise now that I'm sure anyone watching the channel has heard it, and if you haven't, you absolutely should go check it out. Every single song on that record is amazing, and it's hands down my favorite Motley Crue album now, and I can't believe I sat on it and did nothing with it for like 15 years. The next one is probably my favorite songwriter of all time, and I just didn't bother really listening to this record for I think about 5 years after it came out, and that's Radio Chaos by Roger Waters, his 1987 effort. I was young and dumb enough to where I just went for the hype of the commercial hype behind, oh, well, the other 3 guys are Pink Floyd. They're Pink Floyd legally, so that must be Pink Floyd. I didn't know enough about the songwriting and who was behind the songs that I loved so much under the Pink Floyd moniker, so I just never bothered really listening to Radio Chaos. And then when I did, at first, I was really surprised by the completely different sound that's on it from the Pink Floyd music that I loved. But somewhere around the mid-'90s, I ended up diving into that record, and I've never looked back. I absolutely love Radio Chaos. It's probably my second favorite Roger Waters solo record. Next one up on the list goes under that Eminem Slim Shady moniker, where there was so much hype behind this record, and I've never been that guy that says like, oh, well, if it's so popular, then it must not be good or anything along those lines. But there was so much good music coming out in the summer that this record came out that I just never got a chance to really dig into it, and that's Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morrissette. I knew Ironic and You Ought to Know, but I never really bothered listening to the rest of the record for at least another 2 years. And then I went back and really dug into it, like All I Really Want and You Learn and all these amazing songs that are on there. I think All I Really Want might be my favorite song Alanis has ever done, with the possible exception of Uninvited. But just an absolutely stunning record. Like the the sales speak for themselves on it as well. But it's one that I just did not bother at all to look into when it came out. Next one up on the list is a kind of an odd one, because although the record before it was massive, it wasn't one of those situations where I was like, oh, well, they won't top that. I think this record for me came out in a year where there was so much massive, great music out that I never really dug into the record. And that is Nirvana's In Utero record, which had a fantastic lead single with Heart-Shaped Box, and I love that song, but I never really bothered digging into the whole album because I was listening to so much else at the time. And so well after April of 94 and really into the next year is when I really started digging into In Utero. And here now today, I can tell you that's my favorite album that Nirvana put out with any lineup or including the unplugged performance. In Utero is a masterpiece, and it took me forever to even bother listening to it. So those are 5 albums that I overlooked when they came out. What are some of yours? What are some records that you maybe overlooked or still haven't even given a fair shake to? As we always say in the videos, love to hear from you in the comments, so make sure to leave a comment below with your thoughts on my picks and definitely share some of yours. And as we always say in these videos, thank you so much for watching.